wonderful day to all the fellow sentient creatures on Earth. Welcome once again to the Quantum Cafe and the Interstellar Lounge with your host here. I am known as the Cosmic Messenger, aka Derek Pennett, Lightbody Technician, Reiki Master Teacher, and Metaphysician. So I work as an energy healing practitioner and doing full spectrum healing sessions. And you've landed in a trans-dimensional hub. So if you're new to my work, awesome. So nice to see you here. If you've been here before, you are very familiar with the wild topics that we chat about. This is about everything that has to do with metaphysical energy healing, the different metaphysical parts of the human energy field, as well as all of the different ascension, awakenings, multidimensional happenings that happen in our field. So we can kind of go in there and dissect them, deconstruct them, and put them into one central hub, whether it's downloads from the galactic central sun or you're experiencing your Merkaba spin repatterning. All of them can be fused into a common area, and we can have basically like a portal to multidimensional living. We're in a big ascension process, right? This has been talked about through the ages, that when we moved into this version of Aquarius, that we would be having some of the most elevated energies on planet Earth at this time. Hence why there is so many modalities, cosmic wisdoms, and all sorts of cosmic chats and everything coming out to play, realizations, sudden rememberings about our past lives and other stuff. It's kind of coming full circle. For some of us, it's relearning all of our abilities that we had through other lifetimes, or they're turning on and we had them since birth, basically, since we were a child, right? And learning to re-illuminate them. And all this is geared towards that at the end of the day, you can become the best version of yourself, your highest self, speaking and vibrating at absolute max capacity. Cool, right? So I'm always full of lots of wild tips and stuff. And so coming up soon, I'm going to have a couple things I want to talk about today. It's going to be about the 369 rod repair and what that means, and also just the 369 rod. And then I want to speak about the day out of time and the upcoming Mayan calendar as well too. But if anybody's out there in the universe right now, I got a couple tips for you. If you're experiencing a lot of pollen in the air or having any sort of reactions to the environment like that through, having seasonal allergies and such, formulas are always going to be a bit different for each person. No two beings will be exactly the same. So no matter what I'm about to tell you, start your dose off really low, test it out for yourself and see if your body's compatible with what's going on. There's so many variables right now, and it'll always be that way, right? But I mean allergies and reactions to different products that do stuff. So that said, there's one. So one's going to be for the pollen and seasonal allergies, and the other one, sometimes you even have that reaction, that food that kicks off inside of ourselves, and then the other one is going to be for boosting the immunity, and we need so much of that right now. So the first one is known as osamum, which is holy basil. Very powerful herb, right? My business partner, Hillary Avon Porter, who works out of the Star Temple with me, is a Western medical herbalist. I use this one quite regularly if anything kicks on. Sometimes it's even the most basic stuff in food can reignite it, and then going outside in the environment as well too. So osamum's been around for ages, millennia. It's been here for a long time. Used in ancient India as well too. Basically, it's your ultimate friend. For most beings, not all of us, you can handle maybe 2 to 3 cups a day, no problem, using it daily as needed. Then you pull back until you need more, and away you go. Osamum has been my best friend when it comes to recalibrating and moving through all of the seasonal allergies that kick in through the air particles, okay? So that's a really good one. And then the other one is if you're looking for an immunity boost and you want to keep it as a preventative as well too. Again, with all this stuff, start low. With osamum and the other one, put half the amount into each, unless you're buying pre-made tea bags, then you're fine. And put half the amount though, and then, start with 1 cup and see how you feel, right? Because sometimes it can take half an hour to 45 minutes after drinking them to drinking tea to have the results that we're looking for, right? This is medicinal purposes. Now, the other one for boosting the immunity is the same way. Go at least half the dose. Don't start doing it daily, maybe every 3rd, 4th day at the most. And test your body out to see how you react. But cordyceps are amazing, right? So it's a naturally growing fungus, and then the higher vibe version comes from a caterpillar, actually. So I believe something that grows on its back, I think is how it is. Almost kind of looks like a mushroom, cordyceps in its raw form. And so if you can get the double extract version, which will have water-based and alcohol extractions done into one, get them everything I suggest, get it organic, biodynamic, know your source. And cordyceps are amazing for protecting the lungs, which also assists with the seasonal allergies. But then it is one heck of an immunity strengthener. So those are 2 tips that I highly recommend for putting them into your field to recalibrate, right? Okay. I talk about crystals, tuning forks, all sorts of other stuff. This is about full spectrum. What goes in the mouth, what goes on the body, all that stuff really does matter for moving your frequency up, keeping your body tuned up, because it's coming from all angles right now. Now, a couple things. So I wanted to chat about a couple subjects. So we'll start off with the day out of time. This is an amazing upcoming portal. And on this channel, I love to stay up to date with all of the amazing portal days. Like we have like equinoxes and eclipses and solstices. We have new moons, full moons. We have the Lionsgate portal. I have a video on that one as well too. All sorts of stuff. And so these are powerful gateways. We have like days where the numerology lines up, like November 11th, 11/11, right? We have the 10/10 gateways. Oh, I mean, they just keep coming. Sometimes we end up with 777s and they end up being on the numerology and ends up being DNA portals as well too. We have when we're pointed at the center of the galactic center in astrology in December. Lots of awesome stuff. It just keeps lining up and it's not going to stop coming. So every year we have what's known as the Day Out of Time. What is this and what is it all about? Maybe you've heard about it before. If you haven't, let's rock and load. So, the Day Out of Time falls on July 25th every solar year under this calendar in linear time. And what it does is it taps in. Think about the name Day Out of Time. It kind of speaks for itself. It's almost like all time is gone. It's just happening simulcast, right? And that's quantum time, where everything's happening in the now simultaneously. The Day Out of Time is part of the Mayan calendar, in their cosmic galactic calendar, right? Where it resets the moon calendar when we were originally on the 13 cycles of the moon, right? 13 count moon calendar. Moving into a full solar year, then one day at a time to reset it. And that's what's needed on Earth based on all of its different parameters. Now this day out of time is when Sirius first comes up and is now visible into the horizon line as well too, which is really cool. That links into when it starts to merge with the Lionsgate portal eventually on August 8th. And you could say that the Day Out of Time kickstarts those frequencies. They oscillate all the way over to the 8th of August, and this creates like a 2 to 3 week open-ended portal. This is an amazing special time. It's almost like you're in purgatory, right? You're just in this, but the good kind, where you're in this space where you got time to breathe between the cells, between the DNA, between the words that you speak. Time to just kind of think about how things are going, where you've come from in that last solar year cycle, and the rebirthing process that can come right after it. You're in the heat of the summer, right? Coming in with that full power, and all the rays are coming down, and it's quite incredible time. This is also a gateway and a portal for opening up the multidimensional you, so that the nutrients of Earth can come up and through your being. The nutrients, we talk about the sun's rays as they enter the atmosphere. We're talking about all of the foods and herbs and plant, animal, spirit medicines and the prana that we breathe and how it oscillates through our body. It's incredible stuff. And so these nutrients sustain us, and they also open up the gateways when used correctly, when used for full spectrum healing. I don't want to say correctly, but when used to enhance the human experience. Then we generate self-awareness, right? This connects us right into ourselves. And a day out of time, it's almost interesting to go watch public on that day, because if people aren't aware of it happening, it's just kind of like not quite like an eclipse, is more like bizarro land. Day out of time's like, I don't know how to calculate like from A to Z and where I'm going. And it does it in a more bubbly, nebulous kind of a way. The Mayan calendar is incredibly potent, right? Many of us do know that like in 1987 when we had harmonic convergence, that was all relating into the ending of this cosmic cycle on the Mayan calendar as well too, right? So this is about remembering the particles of who you are, the plasma that moves through you, who your essence is, this very soul that animates the body. This is all about that day out of time, right? And then you power up and you move through the vortex, and then you increase the value even more for what you've generated from here, and then until the Lionsgate portal, right? Depending on when you watch this video after it's posted as well too. Pretty amazing stuff. So that's like the Mayan calendar's day out of time, right? And it gets us back into our natural rhythm. It's a reminder that time is not linear at all. And that it's an infinite amount of linears that are always shifting, always changing, always moving, plus more that make up the whole totality of all of this dimensional axis. So it's a time to really get to know yourself, tap into who you are, and possibly you might have some like more potent dream space during that time. Make sure you get plenty of sleep, drink lots of water, tone the nervous system, etc., etc. Lean into your metaphysical tools, because there is going to be a lot of activity. I always say light codes. Every time there's a portal, there is an increase in the light codes, right? The vortex goes up. All these packets of light codes come flashing all over the planet, right? And these are opportunities for self-awareness, growth, and expansion. Now, the next topic that I want to talk about is going to be the 369 rod repair. What the heck is that? Well, it's known as the 369 rod, which is your 3rd, 6th, and 9th dimensional rod. It's this big vertical column that goes through your body, right? It's about that thick. It's one of your metaphysical parts. It's amazing stuff. The 3-6 rod, so I'm going to get into it. When I say rod repair, that means during sessions when I'm working with clients, we may in some occasions need to do a rod repair. But you can do a rod enhancement, right? Rod activation, rod illumination, whatever you want to call it. And you can up its value from where it originally is at. Now, the 369 rod. So, it's the seat of all of your dimensions in this our incarnational reality. So we're dealing with 15 dimensions in this time matrix in this neck of the universe. 12 of them, I've mentioned this before in many of my videos, are for incarnating. So when you access a body, even if it's a body of light, if you're coming from the spirit realm and accessing a body in this avatar-like form, then you're going to have 12 dimensions you're working with. So the rod runs thick up the body, and then just above the knees, you have horizontal line number 1, which is 3. And 369 is sacred, Fibonacci sequence. I forget how they work. There's so much awesomeness going in there. Those are like very potent numbers. So the 3rd dimension, right? And then just below the center of your chest, at your core star, then you have the 6th dimension, and then the 9th dimension just above the head. Between each of these dimensions are 3 dimensions, right? And then above the 9, you have 3 more. So that makes up the 12. 3, 6, 9, and then 12 at the top. And they stack beautifully on top of each other, bringing them all down onto this plane of existence for us to utilize each of the dimensions and work with them. Whether it's integrating sacred geometry or tapping into the stargates or learning about our different star lineages and Pleiadian energies, right? Star schools, karma, shadow work. Each of them have their own dimension, the particles that make up the universe. The animal spirit guides, etc., etc. To know multidimensionality is to know your environment and is to know you. Okay? So you got the rod going up, and then you have these 3 stackers that are going on. So in the bottom one, we have dimensions 1, 2, and then 3 for the line. And then right at the just above it, 4, 5, 6, and then it stops at the chest, right? Just at the center by the core star, just below the diaphragm. And then, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, and it stops at the top. So what I've observed and noticed, especially with a lot of clients, is that this rod can get damaged over time. It could be a car accident, something visceral that comes in. It could be a drop in consciousness. We're talking about cases where it can be damaged or broken. A car accident, severe trauma, drop in consciousness, being born into like a toxic hospital system, that can also do it as well too. There's so many different factors that come into play. And this rod is the seat of our multidimensionality. So if you've ever interacted with somebody where there is nothing that exists except 3D, and anything wild and cosmic is not a part of this spectrum at all, does not exist, it's pure fantasy. Maybe they can like go, well, can you see in your mind like a reel from a movie you've watched. That's about as far as they can go. And when they do that, even though that's extrasensory, it's still just a very simple, like basic form or dreaming on a basic level, but there's no real messages. It doesn't really mean anything. You know what? That means they're disconnected from their 369 rod, or it's had damage. And a lot of the times, what can happen is when the rod is damaged, you're disconnected from that reality. And the thing is, humans are naturally, the human experience, and most sentient beings are not detached from cosmic living, multidimensionality. If it's completely gone, then you know there's an issue there, because it holds the seat of us, even like by having, it's not normal for a human to not be connected to its own spirituality in some form, free of religion, free of other societal constructs, just you and the universe, you and the multidimensionality, right? It's an automatic, natural thing. This has kind of been knocked out. I've worked with beings before where on the main rod, instead of it being straight, it'll bend out like that, right? Or come out the other way on the other end, or depending on where it is, it can be the horizontal line part, can be like bent upwards in different ways. It kind of comes in all sorts of different versions, right? Sometimes there's just like different implants that can be placed, a shifting of operating systems, all sorts of different things can happen. And I literally go in through the session and we reattach the rod, and then where its joints are on those horizontal lines, I can snap them back into place. It's like an etheric chiropractor working in the auric field. There's much other protocols that go into place with tuning forks, crystals, universal life force energy, how I set my multi-wave mat. There's a lot of factors that go into play. And we move the rod back into position, right? So that you can be illuminated. There's usually like an effect felt inside of the body during or post session as well too. And then I restack all 12 layers one by one, very slowly, pushing them back into the human field. Dimension 1 and watching them restack. Now, why do we do that portion too? Well, it's full spectrum healing, so I want to do the full scale results. But each of those dimensions over time can get jam-packed down, because the rod is almost like around your spine too. And what happens over time if you get in an accident, or as 5, 6, 7, 8 decades pass, you can have discs in your spine fuse. It's no different than the rod. These layers can come kind of stuck, and it's almost like hard to move between some of them. Sometimes it's all of them, sometimes it's certain ones. Let's say somebody refuses to look at their shadow work. The third and the fourth may be really compacted as well too, or there might be a small break on the side just after the third dimension to kind of repair that up. Now this rod also connects into the light body, and then it goes into the aura field, right? Because the aura is kind of fused on to the light body as well too, and then you have your Merkaba around that as well. And this rod does the galactic cord up into the cosmos and the grounding cord down into the center of the earth, right? The rod is also really cool because sometimes we experience like really difficult gravitational movements in our body. In some cases, you get dizzy, or it's like kind of hard to walk straight, or you're just feeling like kind of wobbly, and it could be from a portal power day or various other factors in the human body. This helps us come back into alignment so we can kind of stay focused and help with our gravitational movements. Maybe it's really difficult for you to lift yourself up out of your bed, and you get kind of like dizzy, and when you like haven't drank much water, it's really hot out, you're down on the ground a little bit. I know you're working in the garden, doing when you stand up fast and all of a sudden you get a bit dizzy, or you see the particles and things. It can really aid with that mobility and that movement. But it's really the impact of all of the different dimensions and how they work through our reality that it almost like opens them up so you can gain the wisdom from each of them, what they mean and how they work as well too, right? Because there's endless properties that go with the dimensions. And I mean, even once you get up to the 9th and 10th, you're going into galactic connection. That's how like every particle is connected to the macrocosm and the micro. We're working with super consciousness and like the morphogenetic fields of Earth. It keeps on going, right? We got the high councils in dimension 7 and above, but 7th is where they really start to form and take their energetics, and like dimensions 10, 11, 12 are dealing more with like semi-transparent etherical bodies and stuff like that as well too, right? Sound, sacred geometry, light comes from the 6th dimension as well too. It's pretty cool stuff. So it's a very important feature in helping raise the Kundalini value inside of you. It's not about this like come in really hard and raise the Kundalini. No, it's about nicely easing into it. Some beings can handle a little bit more intensity right off the bat. Depends on who you are. But that'll open up that field as well too. And it's also another element. If you're feeling stuck and you're doing a lot of DNA work, that could be one of the reasons as well too, right? Because, on top of the rod, then you'd have your 7 base chakras, and then you'd have your 5th dimensional chakra system going above it. And these layers, they're all interconnected, right? And to know your multidimensionality is to know you, is to stand in your strength and stand in your power. To be, fully connected with your source energy. One with the universe. That's really important, right? And as that column goes up, it also connects into the pineal and the pituitary gland, which are key players in the endocrine system as well too, right? Might have some issues with our tailbone. That possibly might be the culprit as well too, right? And when you work on these horizontal and vertical access points, then you're mending some of the axiotonal lines as well too. This is a greater capacity to bring in interdimensional communication and also trusting your own innate wisdoms. The ones that you use that are refined, or it's because they're refined does not make them more important than any other galactic information as well too, right? So if there's a lot of difficulties within the human body, this could be one of the reasons. I've even seen where like those horizontal lines I was telling you about were all wobbly like this. I had to grab them and pull them, straighten them out, right? And then hold them into place and then kind of re-lock them in. It's really cool stuff, because sometimes if they're wobbly, we're having this rubber band effect. We're doing really good for a bit, and then we're doing not so good in other departments. Almost like if there was 50 things you had to work on to clean up your reality, right? Whether it was like, I'm really angry, I'm having trouble sleeping, I'm not eating organic food, I lean into watching, way too much pop culture all the time, I'm not going into nature, stuff like that. My house is a mess, things aren't organized. You have all these things you want to work on and you go, cool, I'm going to start tackling them. So you do this grouping of 5, right? And then you start to get really good at them. And then all of a sudden you have some revelations that, this group of 4 or 5 over here needs some work. But then these ones get forgotten about, right? And then that pattern repeats over and over again. This brings the whole dimensionality of all of them together so that you're not missing the whole of creation and all of your different metaphysical parts. This brings us into the silver cord, right? And when it's tapped into that, then you're able to access your Hara line, which is the master seat of your intentions before your soul incarnated into this body. Not the basic intentions, the powerful ones. So the rod then connects into that one as well too, or vice versa, right? It's all interconnected. To know the skeletal system of your energetic metaphysical parts is very, very, very important. And when you're done working with the rod, or doing a rod activation and like illuminating it more, you feel lighter. You have more ease and grace of movement. There's still an impact when you make a connection to something physical, but overall it's not so dense, right? Things are more beautifully nebulous. So it's pretty awesome stuff. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about that. 369 rod repair, and also it's pretty important to know about the day out of time with the Mayan calendar. So as we expand and grow on this planet, we're all learning together about what these portal days are, all the wisdoms that they host, and how we're moving through them, and generating new wisdoms about what they're all about, right? It's the accumulation of the whole. I can share you guys wisdoms all day long, deep, sacred medicines, all sorts of things, but it's the accumulation of the collective that brings that whole all together. Thanks for listening, everyone. It's a pleasure to come back on and make some videos. It's been a full, abundant month filled with lots of sessions, tons of events. I got an upcoming market this weekend. By the time you watch the video, who knows? It's July 13th. There was a couple frequency baths I did before with Siddar honey being tasted. One of the most special honeys on planet Earth. SIDR, Siddar honey. There was an open house that I had done with my space. I taught a Reiki certification course. I mean, it just keeps on coming. It is awesome, and I'm super grateful. But it has been a while, so I thought I would come on and chat with you guys and let you know. If anybody needs any of my services, I do long distance. I'm trained in radionics. Give you a quick one. I'm trained in multidimensional Reiki Plus. Same thing. That's my term that I use because I go way deeper into it. You can tell by watching my videos. Tamiana, which in a form called Sacred Heart Tamiana, trained as an aura scanning specialist, and in radionics, which is long distance healing as well too. I use tuning forks, vibrational elixirs, all sorts of awesome stuff, 5D crystals, and a whole bunch of sound healing. Plus, you're in the session, you're on a 5 therapy multi-wave mat that heats up with 5 crystals, sends far infrared through it, and then pulse electromagnetic waves known as PEMF cycle. It also has photonic red lasers and a high level of negative ions, and has been coiled around the outside with copper, so there is zero EMF. The space is protected with an EMF bioshield, and as well as you drink reverse osmosis crystal charge water. Now, and you get full email reports with all of my sessions except my acute sessions. And I can do long distance as well too. You won't be laying on the mat, but all of those frequencies will be sent to you. I do it over Zoom, me and you, one-on-one. We have a full chat, full services. We're doing the video like you're there right in the session. I give you the same music that I'm going to be using on my end as well too for you to listen to and put on your stereo and the whole bit as well. So that you can be tapped in and listening to what's taking place. So I really appreciate you listening today. If anybody needs my services, just reach out, and I would love to book you in or have a chat about what I offer. And if anybody out there has a metaphysical channel and they resonate with what I'm doing and they'd like me to come on and talk about a particular subject in the multiverse realms of metaphysics, spirituality, the whole bit, you never know, I might be interested. Definitely send me a message, and we'll see what we can do. So take care, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.